Seth, and it's according to Seth.
Seth and according to Seth.
Yes.
I like
So first of all, congrats. I know this is your directorial debut. I got to see it yesterday. I loved it.
Thank you so much.
With this being your directorial debut, what was the biggest challenge, getting behind the camera? And was there a piece of advice that somebody gave you that you worked with in the past, or just a good friend that helped make this transition easier?
Yeah. I think the hardest part is you're coming from, I came from a kind of a stunt and second unit background. So, I'm coming to something that when you direct and choreograph for those, the rules are already kind of assigned to you, the parameters of the universe. When you become a first unit director or main unit director, you have to create those rules, and you got to make all the decisions that help propel it forward. But you also, now you're dealing with every aspect of the movie, so you got to tell a complete story, not just the stuff that's related to the action. The one piece of advice I remember getting is it's actually from David Leitch, who's like one of my mentors and producer on this movie. Like, I was talking to him a lot, and he always gives me advice, and he was like saying, like, just keep an open mind that the movie will change constantly during the process, and just accept the process. And that helped me a lot, because you can make the movie 3 times, like in prep, while you're shooting, and in post. So it changes so much. You got to embrace the change, and hopefully it's all for the best of the movie.
That's awesome. And listen, the film felt like it had quite a few genres in it, which I loved. It kind of felt like a kung fu spaghetti western that's like a rom-com at the same time.
Yes.
It also felt like a love letter to martial arts. So
it was.
What was your biggest inspirations for this film?
Well, I grew up watching a lot of Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest movies, so I was very into that kind of 80s Hong Kong wave. I mean, I'd wait every Saturday, and there's like one channel would have Shaw Brothers movies, and then like later on one channel would have Golden Harvest. And I said I would watch those things over and over and over again. So my sensibility for action came from those movies. So when I got a chance to kind of tell my own stories, it's just like, this is my love letter to those movies.
That's awesome. So I noticed at the end of the movie there's the bar where everything, or the movie store bar, where some of those posters actual movies.
Yes, there's actually, if you do, there's an Easter egg.
Yeah.
There's a movie I grew up watching called Avenging Eagle. It's a Shaw Brothers movie. It's like Alexander Fusheng and T. Lung. But the main hero in that movie, his weapon was a sleeve blade, which he would get from his boot. So that's where I got the idea for Raven. It's just my homage to that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Character. So, but you can see that poster in the video store.
That's so cool.
Right.
Raven was great.
Yeah.
Listen, the fight sequences were awesome. Towards the end of the film, there's like this big fight sequence where kind of you see like the punches are thrown and the camera shakes, which is really cool, and it kind of felt like you're taking the punches.
Yeah.
So how do you get that type of picture?
Well, yeah, I mean that like when I was making the fights, or when I design fights with my fight team and my stunt coordinator, you want to make each fight different, but also you're making each fight different, but you're also shooting them different, because I feel like the shooting style and all that encapsulates what the character emotional state at that time. So by the time I get to the beginning, so he fights very elusive, and it's filmed very steady and smooth, and then by the time we get to the end, it's becoming more chaotic and handheld. So that's why when you're watching it, it feels a little bit more like you're in there watching it. And the shakes, I always did, like telling our camera guys, like every time there's a punch and a reaction, just do a little shake. So it's also the camera guys have to know the choreography, so they can accentuate what they want you to feel or what they want you to see.
That's awesome. I definitely noticed that too, like how it was like kind of more calmer, and then as the movie goes on, it just gets more intense and bloodier, which was awesome.
Well, that's good. That was my intention.
Yes.
So I'm glad you saw that.
You definitely nailed it.
Yeah.
There is a scene in the movie, so early on in the film, Marvin's hopping some fences. There was a very specific song that starts to play. Is that a throwback to your work with Austin Powers?
Oh gosh, I know. I didn't really think of Austin Powers when I did it. So yeah, but I when I think about it, I go, yeah, it was kind of like Austin Powers.
Yeah, the theme song kind of like.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you're just trying to find something fun in that moment, because it's such a bizarre scene in a weird way, like what's happening.
Yeah.
So you just wanted to make it quirky and fun.
It definitely nailed that part, which I thought was great. Yeah. The comedic aspects and the action, like how you're able to tie them together, I thought were just perfect.
Thank you so much. I mean, that was always the hard, like, anything with extreme action, you have to, I always like to temper it with moments of levity. So I am lucky too that my cast, I have a very naturally funny cast. So a lot of things just happen organically also, and you see it and you're like, okay, go with that, go with that. But some of it's an intuition feel, some of it's I planned it, but a lot of it too is a lot of stuff just happens organically, and then you find it in post. You're like, oh, that's a funny take, or that let's do that. The timing on that was good.
That's awesome. Yeah. And speaking of like, you know, kind of doing the comedy and the action, there was also a point in the movie where the Goonies reunion kind of happened, and it truly felt like it was just long lost brothers reuniting.
Yeah.
So how was that for you as a director to like capture that?
No, I love that's what, like one of my favorite scenes in the movie. You know, the Cliff character is very important because even though he's only in like 2 scenes, he kind of his presence permeates throughout the movie. So you needed someone that really conveyed like this brotherly bond. He has a stronger, even though he's not blood brother, he has a stronger brotherly bond to Marvin than Knuckles has to Marvin, and you needed to show that. So, you know, I'm talking to kids like, who would be great for this? And he's like, dude, you should try to reach out to Sean. You'd be great. Like, oh, you would do it. And you know, we talked to Sean, and you could tell how he, you know, talking about Key, how tight they were. Like they're like real brothers, and you know, it comes across on the screen. So that chemistry, that authentic love for each other, it's there. So when I see those scenes with him, those two together, it's magic.
It stood out. It was you could definitely tell. Like it was really cool to see that, especially as a big fan of the Goonies. So thank you for that.
I mean, I love those scenes.
They're great. So I know you're no stranger to the John Wick franchise. As a stunt coordinator and fight choreographer, first we have the pencil, and now we have a certain utensil.
Yes.
How did that come about?
It's funny. When I was growing up, you know, we drink boba a lot, and I used to like marvel like how strong these straws are. You know, like these things are pretty tough. They can actually like
they're strong.
They're strong. They can actually I think they can actually hurt people, and so I've had that idea for a long time. So the chance that I was able to do it, utilize it, I think that's good for me.
It was great. Yeah. And listen, I know boba was mentioned a lot in the movie. So do you have a favorite flavor?
I mean, I like taro. Taro, with the you know the balls and the jelly balls are right.
That's so great. Yeah. You've worked on so many incredible films in your past, and now that you kind of have this under your belt as a director, some of your films like, you know, Ninja Assassin, what else we got here? There's so many to like bring up, and all of them were so great and underrated. So if you could, is there one that you would like to revisit as a director now and remake or do a sequel to?
Oh gosh, I mean, that's a hard one. I love all of them. It's funny when you say Ninja Assassin, because that holds a special place in my heart, because my mentors were the kind of the action directors on that one, and we did that as a team. And I think that one would be a fun one to revisit, because I feel like it was a lot better than it could have been so much better, you know, and there's like rich lore that's still there that I think you can take advantage of.
It's severely underrated, and I loved it.
I love it. I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah, please bring that one back. So, do you have a favorite moment on set or something that you learned about yourself directing?
You know what? I think I learned a lot in terms of I had to be more patient than I've ever done, and I think listening and hearing what everyone had to say. I think it's always important to, at that level, you have to trust your team around you and really listen and hear them. So for me, it was just a lesson in terms of patience and really kind of accepting a lot of ideas and trying to figure out what's best for the movie.
Do you want to continue directing?
Yes, I love it. I love it. I mean, I worked my whole life for it. I feel like I used to film stuff when in high school, even before I even thought about going into film. And I think I just like telling stories. And I think now that I kind of sat through the whole process, I learned a lot. I mean, I learned so much on this. I want to be able to take what I learned and apply it now.
Is there something that you'd really like to go after next?
I don't know. There's so many things. I think just enjoy this moment right now, and then I get sent scripts, and I think wherever I find that resonates with me, then I'll hopefully it'll do the same. It give me the same feeling that this script gave to me when I read it.
Yeah, you have to soak all this one.
I know. I gotta soak this in.
I know.
It's a lot to take in.
So, Listen, I use movies as a way to connect with people. I think it's a great way to help bridge the gap and kind of introduce somebody to understand you as a person better.
Yeah.
So what's one movie that you always recommend to somebody for them to understand you?
Ooh. I like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's a great movie.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Police Story 1. That encapsulated my childhood, I think.
That's awesome.
Right?
I don't think I've seen Police Story 1.
The original Jackie.
I haven't seen that one.
The first one.
Okay.
So, I mean, those are movies I just, like, in any of the first 3 Indiana Jones encapsulates my childhood to me.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it can never go wrong with Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but, I mean, those, just the structure of how they're made, and it's like, they're amazing action movies, but there's a lot of heart in them, and there's a lot of humor in them.
Yep.
And I think it's like, that kind of influenced me a lot.
There was one scene that I really appreciated in this movie too, and I think it had a tie into some of the other movies. I know you brought that up in an interview I read.
Yeah.
Where Q is thrown into a fridge.
Yes.
How did you film that? Because it seemed like it was such a crazy thing to take, like him getting thrown around in a fridge. How do you film something like that?
I mean, again, you just gotta have a prop fridge that they're able to pick up. But also, it's like removing the back part of it so we can actually get a camera lens inside of it. So there's a lot of things like, I mean, I give props to my stunt team because a lot of stuff that they had to clean up. So they had to actually deal with the fridge. I was just like, hey, make sure when you throw the fridge, like he pops out of it. Like he has to kind of roll out of it, and you see that. And but you got to make sure you got a fridge that's actually a prop one that they can actually pick up and throw, right? I don't want CG. I don't want to use any vis effects to help, and so that's all practical. So we always try to do everything as practical as possible.
That's so cool. And I know a lot of the blood and some of the fights were practical, obviously. So.
Yeah.
What was it like working with all that blood this time around?
Well, I mean, there's actually a good mix of CG blood and practical blood because the reset, we didn't have a lot of time to shoot. So, doing practical special effects sometimes takes a long time. But, I think anytime where the blood kind of accentuates the fight and the feeling, I love it. I love it.
And I know you said obviously you had fight coordinators and things like that on set. So with you being the director and being in their shoes, is there a favorite fight scene that you did, and do you kind of still try to like lend a hand and show the choreography of what you wanted?
No, I feel like this my team, the guys like Sean Aiden, my stunt coordinator, second director, like that's my team I've had for the last 10 years. So we've like trained together, we eat together, we watch movies together. We're together all the time. So as I move up, they kind of fill the spots I did. So there's really the language and knowing what I like and my sensibilities is the same as theirs. So when I see the stuff and we're doing stuff and we're talking about it, it's like we kind of know each other so well. It's like it's a very easy to bounce ideas off each other.
That's perfect. And last question I have here for you is, what is something that you want people to know about this film going into it?
I think it has something for everybody. So it's not just an action movie; it's a comedy, and there's a lot of heart in it. And I'm hoping that people that normally don't go to action movies come watch it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for all of your time today. It was really great getting to talk to you.
Thank you.
I absolutely love the movie, and I can't wait for people to check it out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.